Well,
Argonauts?
obviously, we should discuss the breaking news. As much as part of me doesn't even want to, but we've got some changes in Congress these days.
Oh,
What are your thoughts?
I thought you were talking about the Bears coach because he's going to be fired. Okay.
By the way, I want that to happen. I can't fucking wait. They said it could be as soon as tonight. After tonight's
I
game,
think they
he's
should.
gone.
I think they should keep him.
Of course you
They
do.
should keep him sign him for a multi-year contract, just like Justin Fields and the rest of the team.
I was going to root for the Lions for the rest of the year, but you just ruined it. So now what's going on? It doesn't seem like either party can have nice things as far as the House is concerned now. And this replacement guy, I guess he just kicked Pelosi out of some top secret office that I wasn't aware of, that they go and chill out at to avoid all of the hassles of the day. I read that last night. What is your thoughts on everything?
Well, it's unfortunate. Yeah. Patrick McHenry, the Speaker pro tem, is who you were talking about.
Yes.
Usually speakers have former speakers have some type of office space in the Capitol to denote their past status and allow them to continue to operate. It's more of a courtesy than anything else. Patrick, obviously, thought Speaker Pelosi should not have that courtesy extended to her. And what's done is done. I don't know if that's something you would want to do right off the bat.
It was weird. It was the first order of business. Yes.
Yeah.
So in terms of ouster gates, though, when you're talking about removing Speaker McCarthy, what generally has happened, which is very novel if you think about it, is you had 8 Republicans side with the entire Democratic bloc that was on the floor. So it was basically 208 Democrats and 8 Republicans voting to oust Kevin McCarthy. And then those 8 Republicans have claimed victory over the rhinos.
That is a great way of. I didn't even actually think about it that way. Yes, no, you're absolutely right.
And this was such a great thing for the Republican Party that all 208 Democrats agreed to vote along with it.
That is so well said. No one's actually framed it that way, aside from the fact that this is insane overall. But yeah, you're right.
But it's true, and so in many ways, it's. You saw a precursor of this when you watched them try to nominate a speaker and elect a speaker, where you saw roughly the same individuals voting with the Democrats to prevent Speaker McCarthy from becoming speaker in the first place. And that is carried on. And so you shouldn't really be surprised, but especially because it's Washington and it's Congress these days. But I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's going to be very unfortunate if this is portrayed as some type of standing up for principle, really, when it looks more like a vendetta.
Yes.
In the long run, when you're dealing with individuals like Mr. Gates, what you're seeing is someone who wants attention desperately, does not necessarily have a long-term grand strategy regarding the party or the speakership, which I think we've seen. But there may be a longer-term goal for him. If you think about the Republican populist movement, which basically Trump has put a red hat on and claimed as his own at the present time, it has revolved around his personality. So with Trump heading into what, even if he wins, it's only 4 more years, or even less if he loses the primary or presidential election, Mr. Gates may be trying to set himself up as the next leader of the GOP populist movement.
Interesting.
And while it sounds crazy, we have seen instances where Corsicans have become emperors of France, or Austrian corporals rise to lead a Reich. You never know what can happen, so you always got to guard against it.
God damn, man. Well said. What perfect timing for us guest-wise today. That was great.
Oh, yeah.
And now, so is this just sort of like, it's almost silly to even, kind of ruminate on this, but like, the whole thing about, rather than doing anything that will progress an issue of like anything that would get us help the nation move forward, all these little like infighting and stuff like that, so as to gain attention, pacify your constituents, but get nothing done, as is obvious with this latest issue. Do you see this sort of being a blip on the radar, or is this just from now on how it is?
We're in a very difficult period of time because both parties are transitioning. Both parties are engaged in their own civil wars. The Democrats on their side are actually further ahead. They seem to have struck an accord between their populist wing, which is the Sanders wing, and their establishment by taking the economic and the green agenda of people like Senator Sanders and his supporters, and institutionalizing it within the policy of the Biden administration. The Republicans have yet to do that. There's still a war, both policy-wise and personality-wise, between the populist Republicans in the form of Donald Trump and some of the MAGA movement with the GOP establishment, and even the agenda itself, the economic populist agenda, which is new to the Republican Party in many ways. That has yet to be decided. Certainly, it is far less settled than what we've seen with the Democratic Party. So their civil war tends to be settling down. The Republicans is still well on its way, internecine warfare continuing, and it leads to a bunch of chaos on both sides, and it makes it almost impossible in a time of civil war for one side or one faction of either party to talk to the other one, because they will then be denounced by their fellow Republicans on the other side, or their fellow Democrats on the other side. So eventually this settles down. And if you think about what's happening in America and the world in general, there's a lot of things going on that we should be very concerned about. And in many ways, to a certain extent, you can argue that the messiness of our democracy is actually very good, because it allows us to air our frustrations, ask questions of each other, and try to find resolution for it, which is a whole lot better than what you see in some countries like communist China, where one guy can tell you what you're going to think or else.
I like that. So, that's the first semblance of a positive spin on this that I've heard, actually.
However, but that would require people to actually listen. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, so many people just talk to talk, like they're formulating their next opinion without listening, and they actually don't care about the dialogue, unfortunately.
Which I think you're absolutely right, Joanne, which is why you find people like me on substantive shows like yours, as opposed to being a pundit on some of the cable television stations, because I'm not running hot right now. I'm just trying to point out what's actually happening.
Yeah.
If you want to get on TV, they're going to put the most extreme and most vocal and most vitriolic individuals from both parties on there, because it generates clicks, which again is one of the things that we're seeing is how the corporate media, the normal traditional media, is going to handle the competition from social media, which I like to call the democratization of information. Because think about it, 10 years ago, your show would not even be conceivable, let alone as successful as it is. So other people who have tradition, well, relatively speaking. So when you look at it in the past, so these institutions are trying to figure out how to deal with you and deal with the competition from you. And they have yet to figure out how to continue to monetize what they're doing, because they're continuing to lose readership. So it all becomes a piece of the chaos and the change around us, which are in many ways just part of the cultural, social, economic, political upheavals of globalization itself. And we've seen this in the as we went into the Industrial Revolution back in the 19th and 20th centuries. So we've been through it before, and let's hope to avoid some of the problems like a Great Depression or world wars, which they had in the 20th century. Let's get ahead of this curve.
That would be nice.
Wait, but that gave me a great idea on how to make our show more successful.
What?
We just need crazy people on so we get more clicks and hits.
I've been trying to resist.
You've already got a crazy co-host, Joanne. What more do you need?
I know. I got to really get it out of him.
We're going to out crazy Bill Schultz. Yeah, good luck with
that. I'm sort of the sad crazy type, though. Not the kind that you want to hear the opinions of, more than that you just want to put a diaper on who's dancing in the corner of the street.